I was told that the topic this evening is respecting oneself, appreciating oneself, which really means being able to see the goodness and the qualities and the intrinsic greatness that each and every one of us has been blessed with by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's not a single person who is in the world, especially those of us amongst Klal Yisrael, that is not blessed with a lot inside of them. And in order to appreciate ourselves, we have to know what we have. A person goes to a fine restaurant which serves some new age cuisine that you have no real interest in, so you will not be able to appreciate the food that they are serving over there. If a child gets a glass of wine, even if it was $100 bottle of wine, but a child doesn't have the taste buds, he doesn't have the ability to appreciate the wine that is there. So too, when it comes to ourselves on the inside, if we don't develop a taste, so to speak, and a flavor for ourselves, so then we do not have the ability to appreciate and to enjoy who we truly are. So I want to start with a question that has been in the annals of our traditions for thousands of years already, from last week's Parsha. Everybody recalls probably that at the beginning of last week's Parsha, we have our matriarch Rivka, and she had davened, she prayed for many years to have children. And finally she finds out, Baruch Hashem, she's expecting a child. And all she knows, she has one child inside of her. Unusually though, when she walks past a yeshiva, she walks past the link kollel, she walks past a shul, so she feels that the baby is trying to push its way out to go and study and to go and to learn and to pray. But when she walks past the house of Avodah Zarah, of idol worship, she feels that this child is doing the same exact thing, rushing and pushing and trying to be what's called mefarches, trying to get out of her into that place where it can pray and when it can bow down to the idols and so on and so forth. So she gets very nervous, meaning she has a child on the inside who seems to be quite confused. And this was not Los Angeles 3,000 years ago. So she goes to the great Navi, the great prophet of the generation, whose name was Shem, and she says, tell me, what's going on inside of me? I davened, I prayed for all these years to have a child, and this child is meshug already, didn't even come into this world. So he says, you have nothing to worry about. You have two children inside of you. You're going to have a Yaakov and an Esav. Jacob and Esav. One of them is going to be an Ish Tam, is going to be a pure young man who's going to sit and gravitate towards the tents of study. And the other one is going to be, well, not the most holy human being that was ever created. He's going to run in the fields, he's going to murder, he's going to kill, he's going to be unruly and uncouthful. He's not going to be a person that's going to be anything like his brother Yaakov over here. So, she says, fine, now I understand. And suddenly she's supposed to be pacified. I mean, if you find out that your child is going to become a wicked person, it's not usually the greatest news in the world, but at least it calmed her down. There's two instead of one inside. Now, the great question that arises from this story is that one of the tenets of our faith is that every single person that has been gifted with life in this world has something called bechira, called free will. Which means that there is no one that is forcing me, there is no one that is pushing me, there is no one that is pulling me, there is nothing in this world that can make me do something that I don't want to do, which works for our benefit and for our detriment as well. Which means, as the Rambam explains, if you do a mitzvah, if you conquer a bad character trait, if you push yourself to do something that's hard for you, but it's the right thing, and you do it, so then you can pat yourself on the back, because nobody made you do it. You did it on your own, with your own conviction and your own determination and your own inner strength, and you get all the mitzvah points for that which you did. Because you have bechira, you have free will. You get rewarded for your free will. However, says the Rambam, The opposite is also true. If a person does the wrong thing and they get involved in sinful behavior, or they speak lashon hara, which is also a sin, or they get lazy and they don't get up and do the mitzvah they could have done, says the Rambam, as much as you're going to say, but she made me do it, Hashem says, no. You have free will. You chose to do what you do in your life. And if you decided to do something that was wrong, you're going to have to own up for that and pay the consequence as a result. The Torah here is telling us something that seems to be opposite of the very foundations of our faith. Because the Torah is telling us, again, the way that Rashi is explaining, based on the words of our sages, that when Rivka Imenu walked past the house of study, Yaakov was running in that direction. And when Rivka walked past the house of Avodah Zarah, of idol worship, so then Esav was already being drawn out and pushing in that direction. And then Yaakov becomes a tzaddik, becomes righteous, and Esav becomes a rasha, becomes a wicked man. So were they not predestined for their mission here in this world? Yaakov, who's obviously supposed to become the future leader of the Jewish people, have 12 children. They're all going to go on to become his predecessors or his successors. So he must have to be the tzaddik. So Hashem made him that way. And Esav was going to be this sordid character over here with his wickedness and his strong ways that are against the Jewish people. He already had to be, from inception, something had to be lacking and missing in him. Did they have a choice? Could Esav have become a Yaakov if he wanted to be? Yeah. Could Yaakov have become an Esav if he wanted to be? And yet the Torah is telling us over here, but no, that's the way that they were programmed from the time they came into this world. This is a great argument, that anytime you do something wrong, you can say, look, just like Esav was running to the house of idol worship, so this is my faults, these are my shortcomings, I am pre-programmed like that, so what do you want from me? Esav became Esav, I became myself. Where's the bechira, where's the free will in this case? There is a very famous Gemara, I'm sure that you all have heard it, or many of you have heard it before. The Gemara says over the following fascinating thing. And it says, Oisai malach hamemun al hiroyim. There is an angel that is commanded, that he is appointed over pregnancy. And the name of that malach is Laila Shema. The name of that angel is Laila, nighttime. And we'll see why it has to be that his name is nighttime. Nighttime always means it's dark, you can't see, you're unsure. When you're walking down that path at night, you don't know who's there around the corner. There's some kind of doubt, there's maybe nervousness. Nighttime usually is significant of what you cannot see clearly. So the angel's name is Laila, is nighttime. And in that first seed of life, this angel comes before Hashem, and he holds the future life that is going to be in this world in his hands. And he says, the fun of Rabbi Shalom, he says, Master of the universe, Tipazu mate aleha. This drop of life, what is going to be with it? When it comes into this world, what's going to become of it? So the Gemara says the following. Says the Gemara, Gibor v'chalosh. Gibor, will it be strong? Will it be weak? Chacham or tipesh, will it be wise or foolish? Ashir or ani, will it be a rich man or a poor person? So that means that Hashem is deciding on this drop of life. What kind of a life is it going to have when it comes into this world? Will it be long, tall, or short? Will they have brown hair, or will they have blue hair in Los Angeles? Will they be rich, or will they be poor? Will they be healthy, or will they be sick? Will they be smart, or will they be foolish? Hashem is deciding all of that. Can't get away from that. Hashem has made that decision. But then the Gemara says, Ve'ilu rasha tzaddik. However, will the person become wicked, or will they become tzaddik, will they become righteous? Loi Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't say that. He doesn't decide. He decided everything else. But righteous or wicked, that's not up to Hashem to decide. Why? Because Rabbi Chanina taught us the following lesson. Hakol bidei shamayim, everything is in the hands of heaven, chutz miyira shamayim, except for the fear of heaven itself. Hashem decided how you're going to look. He decided your family. He decided where you're going to be born, how many siblings you're going to have, or how many siblings you're not going to have. Hashem decided who your parents are going to be, whether you like it or not. Hashem decided everything about you. You're going to have money in your life, or you're going to be poor in your life. You're going to be good looking or not so good looking. You're going to have big feet or you're going to have small feet. You're going to live in that house or that. Hashem decided everything. But one thing He left up to you. Will you be righteous? Or will you not be righteous? Will you live a life that is a nachas, that is pleasing and pleasant to Hashem? Or will you decide to live a life that disappoints and frustrates and upsets HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Rasha or tzaddik, a wicked person or a righteous person, Hashem does not decide. Why? Because we know the famous principle, everything is in the hands of heaven except for the fear of heaven itself. Now, what is the fear of heaven? So listen to a Rashi. Rashi writes on this Gemara, what does it mean that everything is in the hands of heaven? Kol midaisav, all of your character, the koroisav, and everything that will happen to you in your life. You understand? Everything that will happen to you in your life, shall Adam boyin loy bigzeres hamelech, everything that will happen to a person in their life is decreed by Hashem. Everything. You're here tonight, Hashem decreed that you're going to be here tonight. You move the chocolate away from you so you won't eat it, that's also very smart. That maybe that's your free will that you did such a thing. You were driving down the street and somebody cut you off, and it happened to be that you were on your phone looking at WhatsApp, the same film for the last 17 times today, and you bumped into the car in front of you. That's a kaira, that is something that was decreed by the Ribbono Shel Olam. Didn't happen on its own. Everything that happens in your life is from Hashem. And all of, the Rashi adds, all of your midas, all of your character traits, all of your essence, who you are, your good traits, your bad traits, and everything that's in between. You're a kind person, you're a nice person, you're a lazy person, you're an angry person, you're a grumpy person, you're a chesed, whatever it is, all of those pre-programmed from Hashem. Except there's one thing, and that is, as he writes, Chutz mizu, except for one thing, and that is your yiras shamayim, your fear of Hashem. And what is your fear of Hashem? It means, how am I going to utilize all of the traits that Hashem has given me? How am I going to respond to koroisav, to all of the events that are going on in my life? How am I going to view this thing that looks to be so horrible? How am I going to pull myself through it at the end of the day? How am I going to go to the chasana? You know, I was older when I got married, and I wasn't like an old man, but I was older than a lot of my friends. Got married younger than I did, and I used to go to the weddings of my friends that were sometimes 4 or 5 years younger than I was, and I had to decide: am I going to go and be happy? Am I going to dance with great joy and happiness for them? Or am I going to sit there the whole time thinking, how did this good-for-nothing guy over here get such a... You have to make a decision. How is a person going to deal with the hand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu deals them in life? And that is called Yiras Shamayim. That's called... The Yira doesn't mean only to be afraid. Yira is from the word of Roya, which means to see. It means, how much do you see in your life that everything that is happening to you is coming from Hashem. How much are you aware? Yirah Shamayim is the awareness that there's a creator and that he created me and that he's watching over me and he makes everything go accordingly. How much awareness do you have in your life to see that? And then how are you going to respond to that? Yes.
No, I was just gonna say, like, but I think, like, even still, don't people have certain tendencies though?
Okay, but this is exactly what the Gemara is saying. Exactly what the Gemara is saying. The Gemara is saying is, yes, people do have certain tendencies. You know how they got them? Hashem gave it to them. Now, what are they going to do with those tendencies? What are they going to do with those drives? What are they going to do with those negative traits that they have? What are they going to do with the positive traits? There are people in this world that have many, many positive traits, and they could misuse them for all of the wrong things. And there are people that have many negative traits, and they learn how to work within themselves and either change themselves, or they can use that and they can elevate it and make it something that's going to be good. So yes, that's exactly what the Gemara is saying. Hashem has taken care of everything, and he decided this before you even came into this world. So you can't escape. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made you in this way, and he made your life in a certain way, and you cannot escape that. The question is, what are you going to do with it? And your Yirah Shamayim is your awareness and your understanding that Hashem is the one that is running the show and made things as such. And therefore, it boils down to, how are you going to utilize your Bechira, your free will in your life? Every midah, every trait that you have, and every kaira, every event that takes place, you will decide what you're going to do with it. Hashem doesn't decide. He decided it's going to be like that. But he didn't decide how you're going to respond and act and what you're going to do with it. Yes?
I'm not sure if I understand one part of this, and maybe we just didn't explore it yet. But it seems to me that, and maybe, like, again, maybe I'm just misunderstanding how things work, but it seems that a person's character traits and circumstances and background and history and whatever else you want to throw in there is actually kovea a person's abilities to some extent to respond. Maybe I don't understand that well enough, but I think that sometimes, for example, let's say you are blessed with a happy attitude towards life. You just happen to be more of a happy person. Or let's say you happen to be, chas v'shalom, a more negative person. So isn't that going to then affect your ability to respond? Or maybe Hashem just only wants us to work within whatever he gave us?
Okay. Well, hopefully, Be'ez Hashem, we're gonna talk about this as we go on. Okay, what you're saying is true, but a person is going to have to acknowledge what exactly Hashem wants them to do with that which they have. Which means just because my disposition by nature is not to be a happy person, doesn't mean that Hashem doesn't want me to work all of my life to become the happiest person I possibly could be. And even if my disposition is to be happy, I have to learn how to use that happiness also so that I don't misuse the gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given me. There's a lot of people walking around the streets of Los Angeles. They're very happy. It's green and it goes inside of something, and they're walking around happy all the time. But nevertheless, that's not the happiness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is talking about. So how am I going to use my happy nature, my good nature, my friendly nature? We're going to have to go, as we go through this, try to figure out how that's going to be. So, coming back to Yaakov and Esav, the Maharal writes on this seeming contradiction. On one hand, they were predispositioned to this kind of a life. On the other hand, it must be that we have bechir, we have to have free will. So on the Gemara that we just said, it's understandable. Yes, Yaakov was programmed in one way of his life, and Esau was programmed in another way of his life. But it doesn't mean that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided already who they're going to become. That means that if, and many of the Mefarshim, the commentators write, that if Esav would have learned how to harness his energies and his strengths and the good things about him, and he would have overcome the negative traits that there were, then we would be called today probably Bnei Esav, the children of Esav, and not the children of Yaakov, because Esav had the potential to become even greater than a Yaakov. Yaakov was programmed for righteousness. And all he had to do, I don't want to say all, but he had to follow the path strictly and carefully to make sure that he would live up to the righteousness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted from him. Which means sit in the tents, you study, you learn, disengage from things in this world that are not good for you, and you commune with HaKadosh Baruch Hu all day long, you'll become the righteous man Yaakov. But Esav is supposed to be a Rasha. Hashem doesn't want wicked people in this world. Whether we believe it or not, Hashem does not want wicked people in this world. If the purpose of all of creation, as the Ramchal writes, is that Hashem wants to give us the ultimate good that we can possibly have, then doesn't it make sense that Hashem wants a world filled with goodness, with kindness, with mercy, with compassion, with people that are living up to righteousness and beautiful ways where they emulate the character traits of Hashem? Of course that's what Hashem wants. You think he wants Hitler Yamach Shemo in this world? He wants some sadistic person over there in Iran right now that's just allowing hundreds of people to be killed and shot day and night? You think he doesn't want that. He wants people to be emulating the midas, the traits of Hashem. So he doesn't want an Esav to become a wicked man. He wants Esav to look inside of himself and recognize Hashem gave me everything. He gave me my traits, He gave me my predisposition, He gave me my desires and my love, He gave me everything. And He gave me the situation where my brother Yaakov is a tzaddik and my father is this and my mother. He gave it all. But what does He really want from me? He wants me to buckle down and to use my bechira, to use my free will, to be able to elevate and lift myself up and become the greatest Esav that I could become. And that's why later on it says that when it describes who do the parents love, which child do they seem to favor, it says that Yitzchak loved Esav. How do you love Esav? Guy's a wicked kid. What do you mean you love Esav over Yaakov? How do you love Esav over Yaakov? And the answer that they give is that since that Yitzchak was able to see that if Esav would just harness all of his powers and energies and overcome the negative things that he had, he would climb to such a high level of existence. He would end up being the favored son and would go down in history as one of the fathers of Klal Yisrael, of the Jewish people. But he didn't, unfortunately. Although he saw that everything is in the hands of heaven, he forgot that Yirah Shamayim, that the recognition and seeing that Hashem gave me all of this as a challenge and as a test, and realizing that my awareness of my own free will is going to allow me to overcome, he missed that. Says the Maral writes over here that don't think for a minute that just because they walk past the house of study, that means he's always going to do that. And the house of worship, idol worship, is always going to be that. There's a concept that we have in the Gemara called matzah min es minai. One type finds the type. It gravitates towards the type that it is like. For example, you go to school. Who do you pick as your friend? Someone that you have nothing in common with? No. Unless you don't want to be social, that's what you do. But normally, when you go to school, you pick someone that is similar to you, which is the horror for parents when their kids come home from high school with their friends and you say, "Oy, Gewalt, that's who my son really is? How could such a thing be?" So you normally choose you normally pick the people that you are friendly with, that you have something in common with. Says the Maral, when Yaakov was running towards the house of study, that's because that is what he had something in common with based on the way that he was designed. And when Esav was running towards the house of Avodah Zarah, of idol worship, that's how he was designed. So therefore he felt drawn in that direction. But it doesn't mean that it was decreed that's who they're going to be in their life. That is up to the person themselves. And that means that any situation that a person is going to find themselves in, as long as you keep in mind that who I am at this moment is not what I was programmed to be, but it's what I make of myself and what I make of the situation, and that's the appreciation and that's the self-respect that a person has, because they realize the greatness and the potential and the true goodness that is there inside of them. There's a fascinating book that was written several months ago. It was published. It's about a Jew by the name of Rabbi Yosef. Blanking on his name right now. He was a Holocaust survivor. Fascinating stories about his whole life, from the Warsaw Ghetto all the way through the concentration camps, including Auschwitz was in there as well. And he speaks, Yosef Friedenson, and it speaks about over there all of the stories that he had. And one of the things that he is very careful to write in this book is that he wants people to remember the Holocaust not in the way that most people do. Anybody went to Yad Vashem in Israel? Yeah? Waste of time. Yeah? Total waste of time. I went. I was just in Israel this summer, and a few of my older children said they want to go to see the Holocaust Museum. I said, you know what? I was there maybe 30 years ago when I was their age. I'll take you. Let's go. And we went to this museum, and I found it to be such a... It was so negative towards the spirit of the Jewish people.
What's the name of the book?
I don't remember it's called, something, Flames of Eternity, something, I forget, but Rabbi Yosef Friedenson is who it's about. And at Yad Vashem, it's so depressing, which of course the Holocaust is depressing, but it's such a downer when you go there. You just keep seeing the Jewish people were hated and they were tortured and they were abused and they were this and they were that. And there's no triumph of the spirit. You hear about all these amazing, there's nothing there. It's just that we're like sheep to the slaughter and there was nothing we could do, and all the countries didn't care about us, and we can't even explain how the miracles in the end, it was only 6 million, it wasn't all the Jews. It was just, there was nothing that you walked away with feeling good about being a Jew. You actually feel pretty bad about being a Jew after you walk through the museum, because it looks like pretty bleak future for the Jewish people. But once I'm on Holocaust, there was one area in that entire museum, it was worth the price of admission. If you remember being there, you come around one corner and there's there's a screen, pretty big screen, and they're showing documentaries. And those documentaries are actually the only little corner in the entire museum where they highlight the religious people that were in the Holocaust. And they had a fellow who was there, I think that his name was Rabbi Chanan Spector. He was named after one of the great leaders of that generation. And he is sitting there on this screen. He's a man who went through Auschwitz, death walks, you name it. And now he's probably in his 80s in this interview. And his face, he's smiling, he's radiating happiness and joy. And he tells over the following story. He said that it was the end of the war. The Nazis, Yimach Shemam, they knew they were losing. They knew they were losing out. And so what did they do? They took the Jews that were left in this particular camp, maybe it was Birkenau or something, and they decided that they are going to put them on the final death march. And they had to walk weeks, talking weeks. They had to walk with no food, no drink, practically no rest. Just at night they would let them get a little bit of rest, and they would just walk. And he said there was even one time when they walked 3 days straight, day and night, day and night. And the rule was, in this death march, if you even stumble once, if you take a breath once and you try to get your strength back, they would shoot the person on the spot. So they're going on this death march, and they've been going already for days. And now their father, there's 2 brothers and a father. Their father at the march, towards the end, he started getting very weak. So the brothers began like hoisting him up and holding him so that he would not stumble as they were walking along, so that he wouldn't get shot. They get to this finally the clearing, and the Nazis said, okay, we're going to take a break right now. We've been walking for many days already. There's snow or whatever, snow on the ground, something like that. Anybody who wants, they can come and they could just relax. They come to this place, and the father says to his sons, he says, I'm finished. He said, I cannot go on another step. He said, please just leave me here. So the son said, Tati, Abba, we've been going together this entire time. We're not leaving you now. So he said, I'm commanding you for the mitzvah of kibbud avim to honor your father. This last honor you're going to give me is, you must leave me here so that you can live. I can't walk another step. So the son, they were like 17 years old at the time. The son says to his father, he says, Tati, he said, we've been going already for so many days. And you think it's us that's carrying you and carrying ourselves? There are Malachi Hashem, there are angels of God that are carrying us every single step of the way. The angels of God will continue to carry us the rest of the way as well. And so the father said, I can't argue with that. Fine. At that time, everybody was getting very tired, and they fell asleep. When they woke up in the morning, they slept like 12 hours. They didn't even realize. When they woke up in the morning, they looked around. The Nazis were gone. They were gone. The Allied forces had come in, and they chased the Nazis away, and everybody that was there still was alive, and this father and his two sons survived the war, and they lived to tell about it. The events of a person's life are handed to them. You can't change the events of life. But how you're going to deal with it, and how you're going to respond, and the levels of amunah that you're going to find, and the greatness inside, that's up to you. So this Rav Yosef Friedenson, getting back, he wrote many memoirs about himself in the Holocaust, and he never focused on the negative. Because we have enough Holocaust historians that are focused on the negative of what took place for the Jewish people. He always focused on the positive. And one of the things that he writes in this book, there's like a whole chapter, the heroes of Auschwitz. Who are the heroes of Auschwitz? So I'll tell you who my hero was, Binyamin. Who's Binyamin? And he says over that Binyamin, his great strength was that he smuggled in tefillin into the concentration camps. Nobody knows how he did it, but he smuggled in tefillin into the concentration camps. But that wasn't the greatness, he said. The greatness of him is that one day they were whisked out of their bunks early in the morning, and they were taken to roll call. And this Yosef Friedenson realized that when he ran out of the barracks, he forgot his only morsel of food, one little slice of bread. Now you can't say to the Nazi, excuse me, I just left my bread inside. You mind if I go back and get it? It doesn't work like that. You run out of the barracks without your bread, you have no food the entire day. He said, I don't even want to tell you how starving I was already when the day began. By the end of the day, I was starving. I thought I'm going to die. As I come back to the barracks and I walk over to my bed, Binyamin, they had bunkmates. It was Yosef, Binyamin, and there was a Polish fellow over there who wasn't even Jewish, who was also in their barracks. His name was whatever it was. He was also. When I walk back, Binyamin comes over to me with a piece of bread and he says, is this yours? Did you leave it on the bed this morning? So I said, yes, I did. He said, I'm so happy that you came back now because I don't know if I could take it another minute. So I asked him, what do you mean? He said, I stayed behind today in the barracks. I wasn't feeling well. So they gave me duty. I had to clean up the barracks. And as I was cleaning up, I came to our bed and I saw that there was a slice of bread left on the bed. And you know what a slice of bread in Auschwitz means. It is like gold, and I'm starving. And then I thought to myself, either this bread belongs to you, Yosef, and if I eat the bread, I'm stealing your own morsel of sustenance of life, or it belongs to Yannick, who is the Polish man that was also shared their barrack, and I would be stealing his, but I would also be making a tremendous chil Hashem. I would be desecrating God's name if I did such a thing. So the whole day I've been sitting in the barracks with this slice of bread, starving to death, fighting myself constantly. Eat the bread, don't eat the bread. Eat the bread, don't eat the bread. And I made it till you came back. And I didn't eat the bread. Here is your slice of bread. So Rabbi Yosef Friedman said, do you understand the power of the human spirit? Do you understand? This is a man, he's in Auschwitz. He's not battling Hitler, he's battling his Yetzer Hara. And what's the Yetzer Hara of a man that's emaciated and dying in Auschwitz? Should I take the slice of bread that might belong to my friend and eat it for myself? Or save it for him so that I'll have it when he comes back after a long day? Where you are in life and what you go through in life and who you are in life, you can't do anything about that. That's the Ribono Shel Olam. But what you do have, and which each and every one of us has, is called Yiras Shamayim. It's the awareness, the total awareness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, and He put me in exactly the place, at exactly the time, with exactly the midos and the challenge and everything, that I need to recognize how great and how mighty I truly am. The Sefer Nefesh HaChaim writes the following words. In Pirkei Avos, in the Ethics of Our Fathers, it says, Da ma lemala mimcha, you should know what is above from you. And the simple explanation of those words is that you have to be careful what you do, because you have to know that Hashem is above you, and He's watching you, and He's listening to you, and He's got wires hooked up to your brain so He knows exactly what you're thinking all the time. So just know what is above from you. That's Hashem. Says the Nefesh HaChaim, Im ki eincha roye beinecha inyonim anoroim anasim emasecha. Even though, because his premise in the Sefer is that a person in this world has so much control over the world, the entire universe runs based upon us. If you do good, the whole world is elevated to a status of good. If you do bad, the world sinks along with you. If you do chesed, Hashem will do chesed. If you are merciful, Hashem will be merciful. If you give tzedakah, Hashem will give charity. He'll be charitable with us. But if we do something bad, we do sins, we get involved in impurities, Hashem brings that into the world as well. So the whole world is running based on our actions. So he says, even if you don't see it, who sees it? You do a chesed, you see how much brighter the world got? You said one word of Tehillim. Do you see that there's some sick person who's in the hospital right now and their vital signs went up a drop because of the Tehillim? Do you see it that often? We don't always see it so often. We don't. However, says the Nefesh HaChaim, Aval teida ne'emana, but you should know for certain, without any doubt, Ki kol ma shenasa l'mayla ba'olamas elyonim, everything that's happening in the spiritual worlds and everything that takes place in this world, Hakol mimcha, everything is from you. Al pi ma'asecha la'anoitin, whichever direction your deeds are tilting in, are leaning in, it's the world is going to go in that direction. Al piyam yetzu v'yavo, according to what you say, the worlds are going to come, the bracha is going to come, the devastation will come. Whatever you do, it's going to have an effect on this world. That means that you realize how powerful and how strong a person is. That just like that Jew that was there in Auschwitz and he was battling his Yetzer Hara all day long, who knows if that itself did not bring about the end of the Nazi regime? Who knows? Only Hashem knows. But whenever you do something that is good, that is great, that is powerful, that shows the inner strength of your free will choice that you made, you will merit. You will merit to your internal greatness that is inside. And that's what Yitzchak knew about his son Esav. He knew that if only Esav would realize what he could accomplish, if only he would see the greatness inside of himself and believe in himself that he could accomplish, he would have become a greater than a Yaakov Avinu, and we would all be, as we said before, children of Esav, because he would have been the leader of he's also Jacob's son, also Yitzchak's son. He was also the son of Rivka. He's our blood. We are the same blood, flesh and blood. Yishmael, who's the brother of Yitzchak, he's only a half brother because his mother was Hagar, his father was Abraham. But this is the exact direct twin. Yeah, mother and father the same. So we could have come from him, but we don't. Because Esav didn't rise to the challenge the way that he could have. There's a famous sefer called Mesilas Yesharim, Path of the Just. Heard of this book before? This is the textbook of Avodas Hashem, how to serve Hashem. He has a ladder of success, and if you follow it, by the time that you get to the end, so you're already holding by what's called Ruach HaKodesh, you have divine inspiration. So he goes through this book, it's all lofty concepts, down to earth, but very lofty. By the time you get to the end, you're already in the stratosphere of spirituality. And a person will read this book and they'll think to themselves, okay, some of it is for me, a lot of it is not for me. I could achieve this, I can't achieve that. It's way beyond me. And he writes in the very, very end of Mesilas Yesharim, after he's gone through building everything up to the highest levels you can imagine, I'm not sure that there's anybody in the world today that is a living embodiment of all of the words of Mesilas Yesharim. Maybe in previous generations, the Vilna Gaon probably was, and probably the Chavetz Chaim was. But in our generation, hard to know if there's anyone that's really a living example of these words. But then he writes in the end, and he says, "V'zeh pashut." This is simple to understand. Ki kol adam lefi umnois, every person according to their abilities. Asher biyodai, that's in their hands. Va'esek asher hu oisek, and whatever they are involved with, whether you're involved with business or whether you're involved in the world of spirituality and Torah, whatever it is. Kach tzarich la hayashar v'adracha. Everybody needs direction to know what they're doing. Now listen to these fascinating words. The way in which someone whose life is all about Torah, it's not the same way that you'll reach greatness as someone who's out there in the world of business. And a person who's out there in business, he can't achieve greatness. His greatness will be achieved, but not the way that someone does it inside the basement in the house of study. And he goes, I don't want to read all the words, but basically he writes the following. He says, every single person is equal in this regard that you could all achieve greatness. Because our job is to do that which is going to bring pleasure to Hashem. And that means that there are people that they are Rosh Yeshivas, which means they're running yeshivas. They have a job. And their job is, whatever they do, to bring pleasure to Hashem. And they will do it in their way. And there are other people that are working at restaurants, or that they have a business, or that they're driving Uber, whatever the situation is. And their job, in their way, is to bring nachas ruach, to bring pleasure to Hashem. And what the Uber driver who has these intentions can do in bringing pleasure to Hashem, he will be Makadesh Shem Shemayim. That one will bring the sanctification of God's name to this world in a way that the Rosh Hashiva can never sanctify Hashem's name in this world. And the Rosh Hashiva will sanctify Hashem's name in the world the way that an Uber driver or a waiter or a cashier or a tycoon in business will ever do. Which means, as he's pointing out at the very end over here, everybody is equal in one regard. We all have bechir, we all have free will. And Hashem's not taking that away from anybody. And you, and only you, based on the way that Hashem made your life, and the way that He gave you your midos, your character, and your family, and your background, and your situation, and the challenges that you're going through in your everyday, only you could be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim, could sanctify and glorify Hashem's name the way that you can, by bringing nachas ruach, pleasure to Hashem. And if a person does that, therein lies the true greatness of who they really are. If you own up to the responsibility and the opportunity that Hashem has given us to dedicate our lives to enhancing and improving and empowering ourselves in the world of Bechira, free will, so then even though that there was that angel, that's why I believe that it's called Laila. The angel of pregnancy is called nighttime, because there's so many things in our life. It's so dark. We don't understand what in the world is going on. Why did He make me like this? Why did He give me these parents? Why did He give me this school? Why did He put me in Los Angeles, California? Why do I look like this? And why do I talk like this? And why is my voice like this? And how come I have such an annoying laugh? And all? Why did Hashem make all these things? It's dark. It's concealed. It's like the nighttime. But the answer is specifically HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it like that, because that's the challenge of life. That if you will realize Hashem took care of everything, but your job now is to see the true strength of free will choice that you have inside of you, then you'll be someone that will bring nachas ruach, that will bring pleasure to the Ribbono Shel Olam. I want to end with one last story that I heard very recently. Fascinating story. There is, in Cedar Sinai's hospital, there is a chaplain whose name is Jason Weiner. And he's done tremendous things for the Jewish community here, probably saved, who knows, countless lives, made maybe hundreds if not thousands of Kiddush Hashem, sanctified God's name in the face of so many different patients and the families that he works with. And he told us over the following story. Unfortunately, in Los Angeles, in California, in many states across the country, and even in Canada as well, there's something that has been legalized recently that is called assisted suicide. Yeah, there used to be something called euthanasia. Euthanasia means mercy killing, very merciful to kill somebody. It's called mercy killing, but that means that somebody else has Rahmanis on you, so they'll kill you instead. They'll be the murderer. But the country said, you know what, we don't want to raise murderers over here, so let's let the person just murder themselves. So they made this thing called assisted suicide, where if you are terminally ill, God forbid, and you convince the doctor and the psychiatrist who evaluates you that you are of sound mind and sound body, that you don't want to live the next 6 to 8 months with your terminal illness, the doctor will write you a prescription. You go to CVS, they give you a pill box. You take 2 pills, and don't call me in the morning because you're not going to be around anymore. God forbid. You take the pills, and he said within minutes, that's the end of the life. So this is what is going on in the world today. Now, Rabbi Weiner finds himself in a very difficult situation, because the protocol in Cedar Sinai is that when they have a Jewish patient, so that patient, before the final decision is made, they have to have a conversation with the chaplain. And the chaplain comes, and he has his chance to explain why we don't really think that suicide is such a good option to your situation. But if they say, I don't care anyway, so just get the doctor back in, I want the pills, so then the chaplain's out the door, and the guy's going to go kill himself within maybe the next 24 hours. So he had the following question. Maybe I shouldn't go to the room at all, because until I go to the room and have the conversation, they're stuck. They can't get the pills. So if I just happen not to be around the hospital that day, or I get stuck in an elevator somewhere, or I'm busy with another patient, so this person's going to have to delay the amount of time that it will take before he'll make the decision to kill himself. He looks at himself in this situation of being the unwanted angel of death, God forbid. So he didn't know what to do. So he called Rav Asher Weiss, who's one of the big halachic authorities in medicine in the world today, and he's the official Paisik halachic authority of Sira Sinai. He lives in Israel, and Rabbi Wein and him are very close. So he asked him his question. And Rabbi Weiss told him, not only should you go to speak to these people, you are obligated to go and speak to these people. Because he told them, you never know. Maybe you'll have a conversation and maybe you'll be able to change their mind and they won't kill themselves. What's going to be at the end if they listen to you, they don't listen to you? That's up to them. And that's Hashem's world. But you have an obligation to go and do your best job, to talk to them, to show them the other side of the coin, to offer them what's called palliative care, which means hospice and medication that will just help you not be in so much pain the last 6 months of your life, will get you therapy, whatever you need. And then he said, I want to tell you a story. And Rabbi Weiss, who's living in Eretz Israel in Israel, tells over the following story. He gets a call one day, and there is it seems like a teenage boy, an older teenage boy, who is on somewhat of a life support system in the hospital there in Bnei Brak, in Israel. And he says that he is ready to finish off everything. He wants to take his life. And he wants to speak to Rabbi Weiss before he does what he's going to do. So Rabbi Weiss gets the call, and he knows this boy. The boy's been sick from the time that he was born. He had sickness and ailments and diseases and problems. On top of all that, he has epilepsy, which he has seizures. He's had a very miserable life. Rabbi Weiss comes into the hospital room and he sees the young man lying on the bed, and he's got a ventilator in his throat. And he tells Rabbi Weiss, I can't take it anymore. But Rabbi Weiss, I want you to give me halachic permission to pull the tube out of my neck, because I just can't take it anymore. So Rabbi Weiss said, I can't tell you to do that. I can't give you permission. That's murder. I can't tell you to kill yourself. I can't do that. So the boy says, fine. I assumed that you were going to say that. So I have one last request before I do it. I'm going to do it anyway, he says. And I know that it's the wrong thing to do. But I can't take this anymore. So Rabbi Weiss, I want you to promise me that after I die, you will daven, you will pray for my neshama. Because a person who leaves this world in such a state, I'm nervous of what's going to be my judgment in the world to come. I want you to promise me that you will pray for my neshama, my soul. So Rabbi Weiss said, what do you answer that boy? So he said to the young man the following words, I really wish and I hope that you do not do what you say you're going to do. But I will tell you that if you do, I will pray for your neshama. And my wife said that story happened 3 years ago, and the young man is still alive today. Your circumstances in life, Hashem decided that before you were even an embryo. Your midos, your character, Hashem decided that Lila in the nighttime over there when it was obscure. Whether you're going to be healthy, whether you'll be sick, whether you'll be rich, whether you'll be poor, whether you'll be smart or you'll be foolish, whether you'll be tall or short, all of that, your family, your situation, your surroundings, everything Hashem decided, you cannot do anything about that. One thing you can do, you can treasure the gift of Mechira, of free will, And you should know that every time that you use that in the right way, you are exercising the greatness that is contained inside of your neshama. Which means that every single day of your life, if you make a good decision and a good choice, and you strengthen yourself in areas that need strengthening, you have a lot to pat yourself on the back for. You have a lot to be proud of yourself for. You have a lot to appreciate yourself for. And if a person does that, like the Mesilas Yesharim writes, then in your own unique and special way that nobody else in the world, in history, from the beginning of time to the end of time, will ever be able to do, you'll be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim, you will sanctify and glorify His name, and you will bring Nachas Ruach, you will bring pleasure to Hashem in the decisions and the choices that you make in life. The end.
Thank you.